Hey, welcome back, everybody. Hope you had a fun time. It's been a wonderful ride that we've been going through so far. We've hit quite a few different topics. We've gone through a couple of major battle years. Where did we stop? We stopped right around the first invasion of Stalingrad, correct?
Yeah, I got a little carried away with my Stalingrad discussion,
Yeah.
but really what we covered 1942, what the Axis was really doing.
Correct.
They're expanding their empires in every direction.
Oh, yes.
1942 is the high water mark for the Third Reich and the Japanese Empire.
It definitely is.
There's no question that they push. Of course, they start in December 41, so they're going to keep pushing into 42.
Yeah.
We know that the Philippines don't fall until the end of May.
Mm-hmm.
Even.
That's right. That's right.
Of 42. So a lot of things are going on, but they're behind the lines. I mean, the Philippines are an unreachable target for us to try to help. And the Japanese are just trying to make sure it's finished off because they need the air bases. The oil, there's not a whole lot. But,
I mean,
they need every drop.
right. I mean, it's like Maxwell House, right? It's good to the last drop.
That's right. That's right.
But we want to focus today kind of on three key events. If we can get to at least the third, that's okay. If not, it is what it is. But we're focusing definitely on the Pacific for right now and looking here at the Battle of Coral Sea and Midway.
Yeah, 2 months apart.
And they are pivotal in this battle for the Pacific, right?
Yeah, they're definitely ones that, the professor stomps his foot to let you know you should know these battles.
Yeah. And so why Coral Sea? What's the purpose of Coral Sea?
Coral Sea is to stop the Japanese expansion. Down here off the coast, you can see the little tail of Papua New Guinea. There's Australia sticking up there.
Right.
And you've got these little islands, including Guadalcanal, which will become famous here soon. But the Japanese are moving down to try to take that. And the United States moves to block. It's really probably the most aggressive move we see from any of the allies in 1942 to start with. I mean, it's that first, we're going to try to fight back. Because before this, it's just the bad guys rolling over everybody.
Correct. Yeah, and then here's the deal. Again, we're looking here at around that time where, again, it's May of 42. The U.S., we're just getting off of our feet. We've been socked in the mouth after Pearl Harbor, trying to get back into the grand scheme of things. I mean,
we're really pushing to industrialize this. It's on a scale that even World War I doesn't come close to.
Of course, right.
Just a massive. Now, Britain is, of course, just Britain.
Yeah.
They're fighting in Africa because that's what they can do. And now, of course, they're fighting in Burma and, well, that's about it because everything else falls pretty quickly.
Right.
So they're fighting in Burma, trying to protect India. The Soviet Union's army gets rolled over again with Case Blue as the Germans push to the east. The Japanese are pushing. It's grim.
It does look pretty sparse.
The United States, because we're always impatient, we're like the ADD country. We just can't stand the idea of a long, slow war. So we got to get in there and start punching.
Well, and that's the thing. When I was talking with the kiddos in school not too long ago, I mentioned the fact that the United States was unprepared.
Oh, yeah.
The Germans, they've had 3 years of fighting in Europe. The Japanese, they've been fighting since forever.
31, if you want to go all the way back. It's crazy.
And again, when you have then again, that was mostly the Army, not so much the Navy.
True.
Which does put a little bit of a different spin on things. But hey, we're America. We need to really show our force, right?
Yeah. And for the Japanese side of things, they have a very professional Navy. They see themselves kind of as the Britain of the Pacific. Okay. They're an island nation off the continent.
Right.
They have to rely on the Navy for everything.
That makes sense.
They develop a very professional, Yamamoto being the pinnacle of that. He goes to the United States to learn engineering. I mean, they really focus on their Navy, building a very professional corps, which is why the Navy's the low end of the totem pole on this whole Bushido thing.
Which is so surprising.
Because the Army, of course, is still living the World War I life. You just run over them.
Right.
Spirit in Elan will win the day at the point of a bayonet.
When you're attacking people
like China and Korea, who are technologically 100 years behind you.
And even if
you can get away with it.
even going down to French Indochina.
Oh yeah,
you
you're
don't
talking
have
colonial militias.
Right.
They don't have.
They may have.
They might be World War I level.
Yeah, they may have the repeating rifle. They may have.
Yeah.
They might, if they're lucky, if the French were to give them that, or if the British in Burma were to give them that. But
at this point of the war, any guy they could grab from this area has been drafted and sent west.
Right.
Or east, depending
on which side you're on. Yeah. Right.
But they're fighting somewhere else now because they didn't have anybody to spare.
Of course not.
So these are easy pickings for the Japanese.
I can imagine.
Army, Navy, doesn't matter.
And so when we look here at this battlefield map, well, I should say water map.
Yes, water
because this is again a naval battle.
Yes.
Why is this such an important battle then?
Well, if the Japanese take Papua New Guinea in total and Rabaul up there, the big island there, the Guadalcanal, their next stop is Australia. And to be honest, without Australia, we don't have a supply depot close enough to do like amphibious assaults. We don't have a place to take our troops to get them ready to go north into the combat zone. Coming from San Francisco, because Hawaii's not even big enough to do all that, really.
Of course not. Right.
So we're literally looking at, you have to go 8,000 miles to fight a war. You can't do invasions 8,000 miles away from home.
Well, I mean,
it's just not.
Just speaking provisions wise.
Oh, yeah, I mean, just think of how long it would take. How many divisions do you need to invade, Guadalcanal? I guess 3 is the answer.
Right.
But I mean, how do you feed 30-some thousand guys if you're going to have them sail all the way from San Francisco?
It's impossible.
It's just going to be a nightmare logistically. You're going to have boats, chasing boats to give them food.
Right.
And it's not a very successful plan. Plus, of course, we still have to remember, our amphibious invasions are not great yet. We haven't invented the cool Higgins boat and the cool stuff we see in all the movies.
Right. We're still perfecting our craft.
It's coming quickly, though.
It does. It does come quickly. So let's take a look here. What's kind of the draw here for these boats? You see here the USS Yorktown, the Lexington. What types of boats are they?
Aircraft carriers.
Okay.
Aircraft carriers, well, for the United States, is the only capital ship we really have. I mean, a cruiser is a capital ship, but against a battleship, a cruiser dies.
Okay.
So aircraft carriers are all we've got to project power at this point. And the Japanese had already figured this out. That's why they had so many aircraft carriers at the beginning of the war.
How many did they have? Do you know?
I want to say they had 12 big carriers and maybe about the same number of littler carriers.
That sounds about right.
And the difference will be felt in the war is the fact that we start the war with like 4, and we end the war with like 40.
Yeah, well, that turnaround definitely makes it a difference.
Whereas the Japanese start with 12 and end the war with 0.
Right.
Of course, but even discounting battle losses, they don't build any real new carriers during the war.
Well, they don't have the resources.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, capital ships like this take a long time to build. And you're like, well, how do we build them? Well, we have a whole lot more ports capable of building them.
Of course, we
even built ports that could build them.
Right.
I mean, the shipbuilding industry in the United States multiplied very quickly. Plus, we were already a naval power. We already saw ourselves as a maritime. And if you're building ocean liners, you just add more metal. It's called a cruiser. I mean, honestly, it's not like you're changing from a washing machine to a tank.
Good point.
You're changing from one kind of boat to a bigger boat.
Well, yeah, having a 2-ocean continent like the United States, we're lucky. And
we did focus on Navy fairly quickly. We were unprepared, but I can't imagine what we would have been like if we hadn't passed selective service in 1940.
Oh, geez.
We started a military buildup in 1940.
That's true.
And we still weren't ready.
I mean, even before that, you could have seen that with maybe the Destroyers for Bases program, the Lend-Lease program, but you're right. That Selective Service Act of 1940 really starts the buildup, and then by 41, we saw the writing on the walls. I think by 40, it was just a matter of time before
like we talked about before. I mean, we were effectively at war with Germany at sea in September.
That's true.
So I mean, our war technically was. I mean, if you really get serious about it, we started in September of 41.
And not officially.
So that would have been, George H.W. Bush would have been right. September 7th, the day of the living infamy. one of his faux pas
Oh,
at the
yeah.
microphone.
Unfortunately, he has a few of those, but we're not going to get into that.
Yeah.
So, I noticed that.
But the draw is the Japanese have to protect their invasion fleet.
Okay.
Which almost always includes carriers to protect. Because then you've got planes flying out.
Right.
150, 200 miles. You've got a big visibility. You can see what's going on around you. Whereas with a battleship, whatever the guy at the top is, could look with big binoculars. That's as far as you can see because the Earth curve eventually stops you.
Right.
So you're looking at 60 or 70 miles of total range, maybe. And that's in good weather with no mist, no high humidity or anything like that. So
they have 3 carriers.
yes, they have 3.
Okay, so the Japanese, they have the 3 carriers, and presumably they are possibly attacking the
They're going for
continent.
Guadalcanal.
Okay, so they're going for Guadalcanal.
They want to
here.
finish off the Solomon chain,
Okay.
which puts them in a
before-
position to move into Australia.
Okay.
They're
That
they're
makes
securing
sense.
their flank.
I gotcha.
You know,
So just
as you're heading south,
Right.
the Solomon's on the left flank.
Right.
They've already taken Indonesia, most of Papua New Guinea. They're good everywhere else, but
Right.
they need that
They
flank.
needed that security off to their, what would it be,
Their
the
east side,
east, the
yeah.
east side. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So talk to us about it. What actually? I don't want you to get into the weeds so much, but what happens in this battle? Why is this such a pivotal battle, if you would? Okay. Beginning of the pivotal battle.
Well, it's really the most, well, one, of course, is because the United States is actually trying to fight.
Right.
We're not just saying, well, we can't fight for Guadalcanal because it's not that important. We're picking our battle and saying we're going to fight for this. We have to stop them before they can take Australia.
Good point.
And 2, this is the first naval battle in history where the 2 main combatants, aka the carriers, because the battleships were already really considered main combatants anymore. Already, it's early 42, and battleships are already relegated to blowing stuff up on beaches. It's really bizarre to me, but they don't ever see each other. They never physically see each other. Now, pilots, of course, on both sides see each other. But we never. None of the big ships that get sunk are sunk by
Other ships.
other big ships.
Got
They're either by aircraft or by torpedo from little ships.
Understand. Well, that's really weird to think that you're in a massive carrier. I mean, even World War II standard carriers were
Big
fairly
ships.
large.
Well, they were battle cruiser plus sized.
Okay.
So a little smaller than battleships in length and breadth, but not necessarily in crew.
Okay.
Because they're more hollow.
Right. Yeah. You got a lot of
You
compartments.
got a lot of stuff going
in there.
inside.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, as we see, this does end up being a draw, and effectively a draw.
They lose the Shoho, which is a little carrier.
Okay.
So technically, they won on points.
Ooh. Well, luckily
But
we don't do that.
it stops the reinforcement of the fight on Guadalcanal, allows us to land Marines, which wasn't necessarily a great idea, but we did it.
Yeah.
Once again, because we're punching back.
Yeah, we're
Even though we're not ready, this is half of our naval power, basically. The
Right.
2 aircraft carriers are committed to this battle.
yeah.
It's a big deal. Now,
This is like-
Lexington gets sunk, which is a huge loss, and Yorktown is badly damaged, listing, I think, 23 degrees to one side.
Which
And-
makes the Japanese very happy.
Well, and so the Lexington takes off headed for Hawaii. The Japanese assume it is destroyed because last time their pilots saw it, it was listing badly and it was smoking.
Sure.
So they're
It just
fighting
kinda
fires.
limps-
when you're
limps
listing
along.
that's a pretty big list. That's like, oh gosh, it's the Poseidon Adventure soon.
So by a listing, you mean that it's actually sinking in the water.
Well, it's
parts
tilted.
of it. It's tilted
Because
okay.
there's too much water inside the
Okay.
ship on one side.
And how do they just close off those compartments to
So
kind of
close them off,
it?
and then they start bilging them out.
Okay,
They
so
start
pumping
sucking
all
the
of it
water
out.
out,
Okay.
and they go compartment by compartment.
Okay.
And it's one of the things that the Japanese did not emphasize on their ships, and it'll become important, is damage control.
Right.
We literally had fire departments,
And we still do.
effectively, and we still do.
Mm-hmm.
Guys whose only job is to fight fires on ships.
Mm-hmm.
And then, not just those guys, but then all crew members are taught how to fight fires on ships because fires kill ships.
Right.
Just
It's
since the time of wooden ships until now,
right.
fires kill ships.
Right.
So everybody knows what to do. Japanese, not so much. I wouldn't call it a pivotal thing in the war, but it definitely makes a difference when we look at damage to, say, the Lexington, who takes off for Hawaii and isn't dead despite the Japanese wishes.
So,
but because of the damage, the Japanese turn back.
okay.
There's too much resistance
Got it.
to risk their troops because, troop ships are just sitting ducks.
Of course, they don't have the necessary
They're like a
abilities.
big duck with a bunch of little ducks in it.
And so again, this is a, even though it is a draw / Japanese victory by points, we see the morale boost.
What's a
right?
big morale boost? But it is a check. That's the spot.
Right there.
Halfway through Guadalcanal, just call that. That's the highest point they reach. They don't gain any territory after this point, except in China and Burma a little bit.
Yeah, but that's the line in the sand, if you will, for the Americans saying, we will not let you cross this line.
From here on, we fight you everywhere.
That's awesome.
And it does, like you said, it's a morale boost for the people back home. Doolittle's raid wasn't that long ago.
No, April of '42. So
and then
you're looking
and
just
that was
a month.
Hornet, wasn't it?
Yes.
So, which is why she's not there. Enterprise is somewhere else.
Probably getting geared up.
Probably getting geared up. I mean, ships take a lot of maintenance.
They do.
A lot of maintenance.
Dry dock is their best friend.
Yes, it is.
And so as we move on from the Coral Sea, there's another pivotal battle that takes place just a month.
Well, we have the segue, really. I mean,
Right.
we have the Lexington fleeing. The Japanese think it's dead. Well, if the Japanese think it's dead, that means we have 2 carriers as far as they know.
But
Well, that's not really threatening when you can bring 4 to 6 carriers into a battle.
Right.
So they come up with Yamamoto again comes up with a plan. He's like, we're going to push the Americans as far away from home as possible. And that gives us a target.
And there we are with our target.
Midway,
Now-
which isn't quite Midway.
No, not necessarily Midway, but you know what? Hey,
We're not going to count off for points.
historians love to just kind of come up with some
And I don't
weird
know.
things.
I don't know distance from, like, say, San Francisco to Tokyo. It might be closer to midpoint there.
Well, that's probably the case in that because you're looking from about San Francisco to Tokyo at about over
10,000?
roughly.
I don't know.
But the thing you need to keep in mind, of course, is that this battle of, well, an atoll, if you will, is one that is, again, a benefit for us as Americans.
Well, yes, and it's the first in a series. I mean, when you look at Coral Sea, it's like a little check. We stopped them for a second. It's kind of like, oh, well, we only let them get 3 yards on first down. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
But we didn't, they still got time and places to go. And it's going to be a big deal in this next battle because something else, one of those other technological edges, that's from San Francisco to Tokyo.
Yes.
All right. And so San Francisco to Midway.
So San Francisco to Tokyo is about 5,100 miles. San Francisco to Midway, what do you got?
Well, it's Midway Wholesale in Kansas City. So Midway Atoll, there we go. I got it. 3,000 miles.
Okay,
So real close to middle.
Yeah, about middle.
Okay.
But here's again the thing that we need to focus on this specific battle. Even though it may be midway.
But it's an air base. It's a checkpoint.
Right.
It has a B-17 squadron base there, plus
Right.
some fighters.
Right.
Brewster Buffaloes, which are
Yeah.
not good planes. Well, they were great in 1932.
Sure. But not so much in 1942.
Nah, no bueno.
No.
And the Zero is still the plane.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not very well armored, doesn't have very big machine guns, but it's very fast, very maneuverable. And that's everything in an air battle.
And these Japanese pilots, they're pretty strict. Well, they have a lot of airtime, right?
Oh, they
At
have
this time.
a lot of airtime. They're, again, that professional Japanese Navy, their aviators were part of that.
Right.
They practice, their craft all the time. And so when they go into Midway, we're talking, this is their varsity that comes to Midway.
Right.
I mean, they are not sending in the guys that are just learning. They're sending in the best of the best.
And the United States are kind of like,
we're sending what we got left,
right,
which is Yorktown and Enterprise.
right. And so here's my question: how did they know Midway was the place?
Because we broke their code. This is the story on both fronts,
Right.
with both enemies.
Right.
Both Enigma and the Japanese code were broken by code breakers. A bunch of basically geeks sitting in a room. I hate to say it that way, but that is the truth.
Well,
these
it's
are
kinda
not.
true.
These are math guys,
Right.
and they are sitting in rooms with their taped up glasses, and they are figuring out what are they talking about. And they find out that the guy in charge, and I can't remember his name, Colonel something or other, he figures out that he thinks Midway is the target. And so he convinces the brass to put out a message in the clear from Midway that their water desalinization, because there's no fresh water.
Of course not.
So you have to turn seawater into fresh water.
Right. Literally a dot in the middle of the
Right.
ocean.
Yeah, this is like where basically coral reef built up.
Yes.
It's not land.
No,
the way we
right.
think of it as land.
Right.
But anyway, he convinces the brass to let him send a message to Midway in code. So they'll send one out of code, so in the clear, that their water desalinization plant is broken. And then he goes back to his headphones, basically, doing the job I did in the Army, listening to the code as they send stuff back and forth. And sure enough, not within like a day, they intercept a message that says that X, which is had always referred to their target,
Right.
their water desalinization plant wasn't working. So they knew it was Midway. And it was still a guess, though. It was still a gamble. I mean, this kind of electronic warfare is new. We did a little bit of it in World War I, but really this is brand new stuff. The idea that we're going to trust a bunch of geeks in glasses
Right.
sitting in a room underground in Hawaii,
thousands of miles
that
away.
they have figured out what the Japanese fleet's going to do, as opposed to the admirals with all the stars and the brain power.
Right.
It's for is it Halsey? That's the guy in charge of
I believe so.
Halsey's the guy in charge at Midway. For him to bet everything, well, Nimitz, of course, is the one that sends Halsey up there. So they both buy into this. And they know they can see there's a front coming across the Pacific, a weather front.
And that's usually how the Japanese
And the
are
Japanese
able to-
use that same tactic
Yeah.
at Pearl Harbor. So they're assuming that behind this weather front, or in the weather front maybe,
Right.
is the Japanese fleet, and they're going to try to conquer Midway. Because if they take Midway out, then we're back another. I mean, look.
Yeah.
Wake Island's already fallen.
Right.
We're pushed back another 1,000 miles to Hawaii.
Right.
And Hawaii's, too big to fail, kind of thing.
Yeah.
We don't dare lose that.
Of course not.
Because if that, we're just out of the war.
So talk to me about the battle then. What is going on here in terms of the strategic tactics? What's going on with
Well, Yamamoto's strategy, which he's not there. He's with the battleships, which are following behind. The carrier force is the fourth. Four carriers, four full-size carriers, are coming down in this storm. They're going to go after Midway. They're going to pummel it, and then the battleships will come and finish anybody off, and they'll have troops.
Right.
I mean, Midway's so small that it's not going to take a lot. But they're bringing four carriers. Why? That's twice as many as the Americans have.
Yeah. So they thought.
Well, yeah. I mean, they weren't wrong. Hornet's still around, but I don't even know where it is. Probably getting fixed now that Enterprise is out.
True.
But you still have this. Halsey comes up with this plan. He's going to go north of Midway. The standard idea would be you go between Midway and the Japanese fleet and fight it out.
Yeah.
But he's like, we'll get killed. The outnumber is 2 to 1.
We're sitting
and
ducks.
if they ever trap us or damage us, then the battleships come and finish off.
Right.
Finish off. And we can't lose our carriers.
No, of course not.
So
We
we're
lose
going
that,
to
we're losing
go.
the war.
They end up going way north.
Up by where?
Up where it
words.
says Midway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't really see that on the screen, but yeah, right here's Midway, that little penny speck. The American fleet gets up here as the Japanese come down, and then it's just a matter of who spots who first.
And so
You've got all these search planes out looking for the enemy because you don't have satellites. You
course
don't
not.
have radars that really go out that far, and you definitely don't have airborne radars.
no.
You don't have like an AWACS you can send up from Midway and see everything for 1,000 miles.
Wouldn't that have been nice?
Well, there's a reason we developed that.
Right, I
and
bet.
Midway would be way at the top of the list.
Yeah.
And then it was just, we found it. If you ever get a chance to watch either movie, the one with Charlton Heston from the 70s, or the newest
newer
one from the 2010s,
Mm-hmm.
The comedy of errors. I mean, we had planes, the dive bombers, that when they activated their bombs, the bombs fell off the planes. So they were ended up, some of them were literally attacking with nothing.
Right.
Because they were just being decoys for the other guys.
Right.
Which, is incredibly brave, but
Hey,
not very combat effective.
You know what? They did what they needed to do effectively, I guess.
The torpedo bombers were an absolute nightmare. They didn't work right. Even the ones that they thought hit. We find out in middle of 1942 that a lot of American torpedoes, they're designed to go under the ship, sense the pressure change, and explode.
That doesn't work.
It just goes under the ship and disappears. So they run deeper than most torpedoes. And so you might line up perfectly in your torpedo bomber and you drop the torpedo and you're like, this is going to be a great hit, and you head off and nothing happens and you get shot down.
Yep.
And then you sit out in the water like Ensign Gay, who literally watched the entire battle from on a little cushion.
Yeah.
Trying to survive. But despite all that, the torpedo bombers, or torpedo planes, despite their utter failure, drew the Japanese Combat Air Patrol, the fighters, down to sea level. And then the dive bombers came in.
And we're just mowing them down.
And then the dive bombers come in and they sink, they set them on fire so badly. And again, not very good at damage control.
True.
So a major fire like this, because they keep changing their minds.
Yes.
And this is something both movies capture very well. The Japanese keep thinking they're like, oh, we're going to go bomb Midway, so we need this kind of bomb. You just need a regular bomb. You don't need armor-piercing bombs.
Right.
Because you're not dropping on ships.
Right.
And then somebody radios that they spotted the ship, so they're going to switch to those.
And so in the midst of this switching.
So these planes are all on deck, fully fueled.
Right.
And they're loading bombs. So these bombs are just running around on carts.
Oh my goodness.
And the dive bombers hit. And 2 ships are gone in a matter of minutes.
Wonderful.
And it happens basically twice the same way. I mean, the second wave of dive bombers get it. Now, Yorktown is hit again.
Yeah.
Maybe they shouldn't have a big bullseye on it or something.
I think so.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And it's heavily damaged, but they survive enough to send out that last attack, which sinks the other 2 carriers. Well, Yamamoto's plan is over. He lost his sword.
Right. You're right.
That's what he's going to kill things with, and it's gone. Because if he tries to send battleships against aircraft carriers, he's going to lose all of them.
Of course.
And he's not dumb. He's not dumb at all.
Of course not. So all in all, Midway, even though it is only a small, maybe 2-mile
spit of land,
spit of coral in the middle of the ocean, this is a huge victory for the Americans. We contained the Japanese from a major attack.
Well, not only did we stopped their offensive.
Right.
After Coral Sea, they tried to get their offensive back, and we slapped them in the face. But in the slapping of the face, we sank 4 carriers.
And
that's like a third of their carrier fleet.
Another 5 of their probably battle cruisers.
Cruisers and destroyers. I mean, incidentals in this kind of new warfare.
Sure.
Destroyers are not going to make a huge difference in major fleet battles.
That's true.
Destroyers start getting very quickly relegated to the role of hunting submarines. Because they're good at that. They're fast.
Right.
They can stop real quick and then start going again.
There you go.
And they can carry depth charges and all sorts of cool things. You don't need a big ship. In fact, a big ship's not real good for that.
It's too bulky and
it doesn't slow down very well. So, I mean, Midway, we thought we got a morale boost from Midway, or from Coral Sea. Midway is just huge. This is like Gettysburg.
Oh, wow.
We have knocked their socks off. We lost 1 carrier because Yorktown gets sunk on the way back.
Yep.
By a submarine. But we still have 2 carriers in operation. They have more, but they had more to start with. And we have, the thing that we won't notice for a couple years, really, but is a major product of the Battle of Midway, is their aviation group is just gone.
Right.
I mean, you just killed like 250 pilots.
True. Which is huge.
And they're the ones that are good. And so now you have to start training new ones with no gas.
Right. Right, exactly. And so by the time now of June 42.
Well, what, early July is when Midway takes place, or late June?
Early June.
Okay,
is when it
early
takes
June.
place.
Okay, I was thinking later.
So by June of 42, the Japanese are now on the defensive.
We see them on the defensive, and we don't really see them launch any offensives after that. But their mindset doesn't really change.
Right.
They're still ready to start fighting, but again, limited resources, and now less ships, less air pilots.
Makes it very, very difficult.
And of course, during this pause, really it causes a pause in the war in the Pacific. The Japanese are really kind of on a pause for almost a year and a half before they really can get things back organized. And that year and a half is the end of the world as far as they're concerned, because everything starts rolling off the assembly line. When we get to 43, we're starting to talk the 1,000 bombers a month kind of thing.
Right.
Just the insane amount of production that starts coming off of American line. And America has set its sights on creating a technically proficient military. When they draft people, they're not drafting a ton of infantrymen. Yes, they are drafting infantrymen. But if you have any skill at all with mechanics, you're not going in the infantry if they can help it.
No.
They're going to stick you on an airplane or a ship.
Makes sense.
It's the first, I guess, professionally with psychiatric and sociological testing to help learn what people are good at and put them in the right place. I mean, the joke is, and it always has been in the military, that, if you're good at something, that's where they'll send you not. But when you try sorting 20 million people,
right,
20 million men with different skills, and you start sorting them into what are they going to be, and at the time, the goal was to build the Air Force and the Navy. So the Army kind of got what was left over.
Which, again, similar to World War I,
Similar to
gravel agitators,
Yeah,
or whatever they may have been.
But it's a huge undertaking
Sure.
to have a fleet that we could send 1,000 planes in a single day over Berlin.
Definitely.
But Midway is what makes the end of the war inevitable in the Pacific.
Right.
They got knocked back on their heels long enough for us to build more stuff. And once we start building more stuff, they're done.
Yeah, it's all said and done.
It's just a matter of time now.
The fat lady is warming
Yes,
up.
she is.
Definitely.
She is going.
yes, gurgling that salt water, opening
she's
everything,
ready.
going, gone. And I think that is a good place for us to stop for today. We've got some good points going on with now the Pacific. We have caught up to ultimately.
I mean, really, it's
clean up.
I mean, we're gonna be talking about island hopping and stuff
Exactly.
next. But really, all this is gonna push forward till when we retake the Marianas. That's when the fighting really starts getting fierce. I think it's about that time the Japanese finally realize they're on the defensive.
Oh yeah. A year and a half later.
We're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because they keep coming. It's kind of like for Germans who were sitting in Germany in like 44 and 45. Hitler's all screaming about victory. The papers start screaming about victory. But if you have a map,
you're like,
and you're looking at the names of the towns, they keep getting closer.
Yeah.
That's not a winning war when the names get closer.
Exactly. So anyway, please make sure that you join us next time where we will focus on our European turning points.